My name is Karen Janousek. I'm the Chief Population Health and Growth Officer for Sinai Chicago. Sinai Chicago is Chicago's oldest and largest private safety net hospital. And within the role of Chief Population Health Officer, there are four main key verticals. Anything related to managed care, anything related to value-based care, all of our alternate payment mechanisms work in our ACO, and then working with our HFS healthcare transformation collaboratives to change care and care delivery on the west and the south sides of Chicago.
Well, while I would love to talk about value-based care sometimes, since that's what we do, we're actually talking about mentorship in medicine. You Can't Do It Alone is the title that's over my shoulder here. And I want to start with this. What do you find makes for a good mentor?
In my experience, a good mentor is someone who is very thoughtful, who is one who will sit and listen, who will give you the space to be creative, but who also will be the person who is your sounding board when you get into an idea or a situation that you just need a listening set of ears for. And so those have been the most impactful mentors in my career so far. That is the personality profile.
Is there a time in your career where you found that you really did need a mentor?
I think in every role I've ever had, I have needed a mentor at differing levels, at differing ways. And that has caused me to try to play it forward with other people and act as a mentor to folks, take what I've learned and help the next generation, help the colleagues that I work with.
And to you, how does a mentorship begin? I mean, are you the kind of person who's very formal about it and says, I really would like you to be a mentor? Or is it almost you sort of look in the past and realize someone was a mentor?
For me personally, as the person receiving the mentorship, it's always been in the rearview mirror. I didn't necessarily see it up front. However, as I've grown in experience and age and wisdom, I look back and I'm like, oh, that person, that role, that sentence, that experience was a form of mentorship that I've pulled with me through my career.
Are there things mentors have told you that you find yourself repeating to other people that, like, I had this person or this person in my life who said this, and you pass that along?
Yes, I love that question, first of all. And again, I see it in the rearview mirror now. But my first position out of college was with Mercy Hospital here in Chicago, now known as Insight. And I had the pleasure of working with Sister Sheila Lyne, the then CEO of the hospital. And one of the things, one day Sister came by my office and said, let's take a walk down the hallway. I said, sure. Sister said something, you went and you did it. And as we're walking, she's pointing up to the lights in the ceiling. And she's like, what do you see? Lights in the ceiling, Sister. What do you want me to see? And that became a mentor moment, because she then said, no money, no mission. In other words, we have to make money to keep the lights on to serve the communities that we are serving. If I have used that thought once, I've used it 1,000 times throughout the career. And I particularly come back to those words, I hearken back to those words being at Sinai Chicago.
Well, it seems like coming from a sister, that means a lot more than, coming from, a business executive of some kind. Not that that's not what she was.
Well, she was in both, but
right.
No, I see your point. However, in all of the secular business leaders I've had the privilege to work for and with, in more than one ways, they've said the same message. And that message, no money, no mission, also empowers you to think creatively, to think efficiently, to think long-term. In our world, it's how are we thinking about the patients and keeping patient-centered care at the forefront of what we do.
So I had the good fortune of being able to kind of prepare for this. And how else do you prepare for a podcast on mentorship than to listen to other podcasts on mentorship? Anyway, they were doing some myth busting about mentorship, and one of the myths was that, like, the more successful someone is, the better the mentor, they're the person you should go after, and of course they were saying that's a myth because it's not necessarily the case. And I wonder if you've seen that there are times people have trouble translating their success into, bringing other folks along.
I have seen that. And for me, often the way it represents itself is the fact that I perhaps may ask a question, and I like to understand how something works, whatever the thing is, whatever the system is. And sometimes, in my experience with some of the mentors, they had not gotten into perhaps a level of detail that at that moment in the point of my career I needed to know or see. It was perhaps a little too 30,000 feet, and I needed probably 20,000 feet at that point in time.
Yeah. What do you think a mentor gets out of the relationship? Obviously, I don't know how formal these relationships you're talking about you're in now, but what do you find that you get out of mentoring others?
I have the pleasure right now of being able to be a mentor to some folks down in Kenya. Doing some assistance, helping with the health system down there, and mentoring a couple, one particular person. And what I get out of that, and why I agreed to do this, was a couple things. Number one, I got to learn a little bit more about how healthcare is delivered outside of the United States, which was very interesting and continues to be important for me to understand. Number two, it stretched my ability, if you will, to think forward. If this is a topic we're talking about with the mentee right now, what is the next thing I can begin to anticipate that she may need as we go through the next month's session and the next month's session? So I think for me, it keeps my skill set sharp, which then I can turn around and hopefully utilize it appropriately at Sinai Chicago.
Well, let's wrap up with this. There are folks who are very diligent about finding a mentor and really, cultivating that. I think there are some folks like, I do my own thing. I'm blazing my own trail. What might you say to somebody who leans that way and is not all that interested in getting, feedback from folks that they trust, and maybe hearing something that could be tough?
I would say it is okay not to seek out a professional mentor or an arranged mentorship. However, I would reflect on what you could be missing from not necessarily taking advantage of what some of your peers or your leaders have experienced. I think you leave something on the table by not paying attention to what others are doing, either in terms of their leadership style, in terms of their words, in terms of their message, by thinking you can go it alone.
Well, Karen Janousek, Chief Population Officer at Sinai Chicago, thank you for doing this.
Thank you very much for inviting me.
Wellvana is more than just a smart tech platform. We're a high-touch partner who shoulders the burden of moving physicians, health systems, and payers to value-based care, because you can't do it alone. See what life-changing could look like for you at wellvana.com. Your patients will thank you.